Zelensky's Tomahawk gambit. Could one weapon change the war? Volodymyr Zelensky has requested Tomahawk missiles in a behind-closed-doors meeting with Donald Trump, reported by The Telegraph. It's September in New York. The corridors of the United Nations are buzzing with diplomats and journalists behind closed doors. However, a different drama unfolds. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky sits across from Donald Trump and makes a bold request. Tomahawk cruise missiles, the same system used by the US Navy for decades to hit hardened, high-value targets from hundreds of miles away. If granted, this would be the first time Ukraine possesses a weapon capable of reaching Moscow itself. Where we are in the war. Nearly 4 years into Russia's full-scale invasion, the front lines are grinding. Ukraine has surprised the world with its resilience, but is still outgunned in long-range strike capability. Western support has been generous, but incremental. First Javelins, then HIMARS, then Storm Shadow and Scalp. Each new system arrived after intense debate about escalation. Tomahawks would be the next and biggest leap. What the Tomahawk is. Unlike short-range battlefield missiles, the Tomahawk is a strategic tool, range up to 1,500 miles, 2,400 kilometers, warhead 450 kilograms, delivery ships, subs or land batteries, profile low-flying, terrain-hugging, hard to intercept. In short, it is designed to take out high-value, heavily defended assets far from the front. Why Zelensky is asking now? The Biden administration had rebuffed a similar request, calling it too risky, but Trump has signaled a shift. According to Axios, he told Zelensky we will work on it and has negotiated European co-funding for US weapons deliveries. This meeting on the sidelines of the UN was hailed as massively positive by insiders. Zelensky's pitch is that parity matters. Russia uses Ha-101 and Caliber cruise missiles from deep inside its territory to strike Ukrainians' power grid. Ukraine, he argues, should have the capability to respond at equivalent depth, not against civilians, but against command hubs and infrastructure feeding the war. What targets might be considered? Ukrainian officials have been explicit about avoiding civilian casualties. The phrase centers of Russian power refers to strategic air bases launching bomber attacks, logistics hubs and fuel terminals that feed the war effort, command and control centers directing drone and missile strikes, energy infrastructure financing or enabling the invasion. The negotiation strategy. This is not about punishment, it's about leverage. By being able to hold high-value military targets at risk, Ukraine could raise the cost of continued aggression and strengthen its hand in any future talks. It's the same logic as sanctions, but kinetic. As Serhiy Kuzan of the Ukrainian Security and Cooperation Center put it, if Russia has long-range cruise missiles, then Ukraine must have similar capabilities. Risks and red lines. Critics warn of escalation. Tomahawks could reach Moscow and beyond, potentially triggering retaliation or attempts to fracture NATO unity. That's why Kyiv frames the request as reciprocal. If Russia attacks Ukrainians' energy, Ukraine must be able to respond in kind, but not indiscriminately. This is also why the Trump team has floated European co-funding to show allied buy-in and distribute political risk. Enough tiptoeing. Every time Ukraine asks for a new weapon, the same course of risk and red lines rises. And yet the war keeps dragging on, civilians keep dying, and Russia keeps crossing every line at once. Tomahawks are not about aggression, they're about parity. Escalation, retaliation, NATO unity, those fears are exactly what the Kremlin counts on. It's time to stop letting red lines drawn by Moscow dictate Western policy. Giving Ukraine the means to hit legitimate military targets deep inside Russia isn't reckless, it's deterrence. Without leverage, there is no negotiation. Without pressure, there is no peace and no fear. How it would change Ukrainians' capabilities. If delivered, Tomahawks would extend Ukrainian strike reach tenfold beyond Storm Shadow, force Russia to disperse and defend assets deep inside its territory, create uncertainty in Moscow's military planning, potentially shorten the war by making escalation costlier for the Kremlin. Think of how HIMARS transformed the battlefield in 2022, or how Storm Shadows reshaped operations in Crimea in 2023. Tomahawks could mark another phase shift. The global angle. This isn't just about Ukraine. It's a test of Western policy. Does Washington still draw the same red lines it did under Biden, or does Trump's "we will work on it" indicate a new approach? Will Europe step up to share cost? And how will Moscow interpret a US decision to arm Ukraine with a weapon that can reach the Kremlin? For other countries watching from Taiwan to the Middle East, the outcome will signal how far the US is willing to go to support allies under attack, closing beyond the missiles. Whether or not Tomahawks actually arrive, the request itself is a milestone. Ukraine is no longer only asking for weapons to defend. It is asking for tools to deter and to compel. That shift from survival to leverage may shape the next stage of the war as much as any missile. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.